Trial of Ashley Benefield, it has wrapped up, and the second-degree murder charge, she wasn't found guilty on that, but she was found guilty on the lesser charge of manslaughter. That's where the jury ended up coming in after hearing all of the arguments. Joining me to discuss, Bob Motta, defense attorney, host of the podcast Defense Diaries. And I mean, we had quite a conversation on this last week. I mean, my goodness. I mean, I know you were streaming it live, and you got pretty emotional about the testimony while it was taking place. I was watching you,
Yeah, it was brutal.
and I mean, it was brutal. It was very brutal to watch. We've had a couple days now, I mean, a while to kind of let it all sink in. I've rewatched some of it myself. What's your take here on this verdict and how it all ended up landing?
I mean, it landed great for the state.
Yeah,
I like her approach, I thought was grotesque. I mean, like that office represents victims that are not Doug Benefield that
sure.
are alive, and just kind of looking at how they treat because I there's no question that she was a victim of domestic violence,
I
but
agree.
it wasn't necessarily physical, it was
Hmm.
psychological, it was coercive, it was all those things. Just kind of looking at like how those two female prosecutors handled that can't sit well with the victims that these two gals are kind of handling their cases because I think it's set back like in order to get this conviction they set back domestic violence like 20 years.
Hmm.
That is why women don't come forward with shit like this.
Yes.
Like, look, like our chat was heated. Like, you got people that think that Ashley's completely full of shit
Hmm.
and that this was a scheme from
Oh
the
yeah,
whole
it's you can see
get.
both sides. Yeah,
Right. So and I respect that. Like
yeah,
you're allowed to have your opinion, but I'm allowed to have mine
of
as well.
course. Yeah,
I absolutely think she was a victim.
yeah.
Um, I think it was a brutal, like because it was actually it's manslaughter with a firearm, which carries up to a maximum of 30 years with a
Hmm.
mandatory minimum
Of
of
11.
11 and a
Yeah,
half.
yeah.
So, I mean, she's going in. I mean, they're going to appeal it right away, but I just, it was really interesting, man.
Yeah.
It was like this concept because there was certainly stuff about Ashley that didn't get in that the state would have wanted in terms of kind of her backstory. Um, I think at the end of the day that the jury walked away feeling like just not convinced. Like the world is not ready to acknowledge the fact that people and as particularly women can be abused where it's not somebody putting their fist in their face.
You're
You
exactly
know?
right. That was the exact same thing I was thinking about as we started this conversation was it doesn't always take physicality to make abuse. Mental abuse is oftentimes far more damaging,
Way
lasts
worse.
far longer, and will
Yeah.
create far worse results, as I think we ended up seeing in this case. I
Yes.
think the thing that hurt her, though, was you have Doug, who I think was just someone who was completely trying to be, in control of everything. He was the intimidator, and she was a manipulator. And I
Right.
think that they were both they both had parts in all of this. And the two certainly didn't work together because both sides want to be right. Both sides want whatever they're going to do. And you'll go to an extreme extent, especially if it involves your kids. And if you truly believe that that person is a threat to your child, fuck the law. You're going to do whatever you need
Taking them down.
to
Right.
protect your kids. But the question though is, was her prism acceptably off to the point that it was that she did what she did prior to the murder, prior to like keeping him away from the birth, keeping him away from this and that, when there was no court order saying that she had that he could be separate from these sort of things. And
Right.
I think that that's where they go in and look. I think you tried to manipulate the system a bit. I think he was off his fucking rocker completely, especially when we heard that testimony of the ex-wife, from
Yeah.
the letter of him kicking her when he couldn't get it up and all that
Right.
shit.
All that
Like
shit.
clearly
Larry
he's got a pattern of
eyeliner, like
abuse. He's a shitty human being no matter what.
right.
But at the same point, it's like, what? How much culpability is over here, though? Would this have gone there? Had I don't know. I'm just still. I'm kind of in the middle on the whole damn thing, and I
I
don't know
mean,
what to think. I almost feel like the jury kind of came back with a fair verdict in the middle of all of this, but I
but
don't
it's
know.
really a hammer of a verdict.
I just
Like,
don't know.
I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
it
I
is.
don't know either. It's
It
like
is. And at the end of the day, the person that's going to suffer the most is the kid.
the
Mom's
kid.
gone now, dad's gone, and that's the worst thing. You know, is Ashley Benefield, would she have been the best mother? I don't know, but obviously she's not going to really get that opportunity through a good chunk of the child's life, and that's the ultimate victim. You know, in all of this going forward, it's such
Said
a
the exact
confusing
same thing
case.
last night.
Yeah,
Said the exact same thing last night. Like that's all I could think about was that little girl
yeah,
not even getting to hug her mother before she's taken into custody
yeah.
for potentially 30 years.
Yeah, I
Like,
know. I mean, yeah, it's insane. It's
yeah.
it's just
So
I've never been like kind of so middle of a case where I don't know what to say because I will completely I'll have you on, I'll have Coffin Dapper on, I'll have somebody else on, and it's like and I can hear it from all the perspectives because I can see it. I've
yeah,
been a victim of domestic abuse from a female.
right.
And I can watch the manipulation. And honestly, in some of her testimony, it did feel very manipulative. It felt very, I'm going to push this button and that button. But I suppose if I was in that position too, and I'm fighting for my life, I'd be pushing every fucking button I could press.
Yeah.
So
I
it,
mean, we talked about it,
yeah,
man. Like,
I know.
look, dude, like the system failed her.
Yeah,
Like, because there
it did.
actually was a mutual, there was a restraining order in place, and like the
Yes.
day that she gets that thing in place where she agrees to do it, and we used to do it all the time.
Yeah.
Like we have, like if I was representing the party that they were seeking the order against, the restraining order,
Hmm.
like I would go in before the plenary hearing, which is like what we call it out here, which is like where you're turning a temporary order into a permanent order.
Sure.
I tried to negotiate. I'm like, let's do a mutual stay away. That way we don't have to have a hearing.
Hmm.
This isn't going to be a public record. We're not airing all the dirty laundry, and it achieves the same goal, the
Yeah.
same, which is exactly what they did here. That order's entered, and this guy fucking mails her a bunch of toxic tea, whatever it was.
If it
It's like
was,
it's
but I mean, but
accident.
the thing is, that still thing that like that was never proven, other than she says it was poison. You could okay. Did we test the tea? Could we have any proof that it was
Somebody
poison
tested it. It
other
came
than you
out like
saying
somebody
it's
tested it, but they
poison?
didn't put that lab tech on. I don't know,
I mean,
man.
that's the thing. It's like there's so much shit in this case where it's just like she says this and it's
I know.
fact, and
I know.
that's where it's just so up in the air. Yeah,
I know. It's a tough case. Like those
yeah,
cases, it's like those cases in like I mean, what's tougher than a self-defense case?
yeah,
Now, like think about like the Apple River killer case, the
yeah,
dude. Remember the dude with the kids on the floats where
yeah.
he's like I mean,
And
like
he
a
just
lot of that
yeah,
was the same shit. It was a split.
yeah,
Half the people were like these fucking kids were harassing the shit out of this
yeah.
guy. Like I don't blame him. And then like half the people are like he's a goddamn psychopath.
But
It
I
was
will
like
say this:
stabbing a bunch of kids.
his sentencing this week, I thought he was very genuine in his apology. I think it tears the shit out of that man. I do not think it was however the fuck it
Yeah, like
happened.
I
But yeah,
agree. Like
yeah,
that dude was not a monster. Like
no,
he wasn't going there to pick a fight. He literally was going to try to find his fucking friend's phone.
exactly, yeah,
And like he was dealing with a bunch of drunk kids and
yeah.
shit just like spun
I
out of control.
yeah, completely.
And it's like that's the thing. It was like I kind of went age for people in terms of like, well, I was having the debate with my 18-year-old, now 18-year-old daughter at the time that was on. We're watching it,
Mhm.
arguing with each other. I'm like, as an old man, I'd be fucking terrified if I had all these young guys
Yes.
around me, surrounding me and shit, man. And it's like, she's like, oh, you're just fucking old. And I'm like, oh my God. It was
No,
like generational,
I hear it from his perspective. I really did.
Totally,
Yeah,
totally,
yeah,
man. It's like, I mean, did he take it too far? Maybe. I don't know.
yeah.
Because it's always like you're like
It's
in
like
those
this. It's the same thing. Did she take it
same,
too
that's what I'm
far?
saying.
It's
The same
perspective at
shit.
that moment.
Exactly. Exactly.
Are there any issues here appellate wise where she can, where she has some ground? Obviously they're going to appeal it, but is there really grounds for it? Do you see anything?
Yeah, I mean they'll find some issues. In terms of things that were allowed into evidence, I think they'll get into things that were not allowed into evidence in terms of their DV guy,
Mhm.
who like the prosecutor basically had that guy pegged as clown town, and I thought he was phenomenal.
Mhm.
I'm like, every cop should have to be taught by this guy who was a former cop
Mhm.
who knew all kinds of shit, like making fun of the Duluth power wheel, like
Yeah.
I thought the wheel was very insightful and I
Hmm.
thought it was dead balls on. It's like these are all the ways that are nonviolent that coercive control happens.
Sure. Sure.
I mean, and it was like it went through them and they're all like telltale signs. And Doug was like on every spoke of that wheel
Completely. Yeah.
that he was doing, so it was
Yeah.
like, yeah, they'll find issues. Whether or not it's gonna be enough to overturn it
Yeah.
is a whole different thing. And and surprisingly, it was a pet, like what they call a petit jury. Only six jurors, five women, one man, or one man, and
Interesting.
yeah, man. Like with that, so I was surprised. I was
Yeah.
surprised because they came back, said we're deadlocked. They went back and then they were only back for a half an hour after they said they
Hmm.
were deadlocked, came back with the verdict. A lot
Yeah.
of people were like it was like a compromise verdict,
Yeah.
but it might have been a compromise between murder and manslaughter.
Yeah.
Not
Probably.
not guilty and manslaughter, but
No,
murder and manslaughter.
I could see
So
that
I don't know.
where it's
Tough case.
like, look, there's something here. I think we're gonna call it this, and yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I just feel bad for the little girl. I feel bad for Ava.
yeah, completely.
Like
That,
TikTok or not, I don't get like she lost both her parents,
yeah,
and I feel terrible for her. So yeah, it's just another sad case that we're dealing with, like all of them.
yeah, no, completely. At the end of the day, there's only really one person in this case that really knows what happened, and yeah, we can have our
Yep,
conjecture, but yeah, it's a sad situation all around.
that's it.
Hey, thanks for checking out the video. Be sure to follow us wherever you download podcasts, and especially Apple Podcasts, where you can get advanced episode and premium content on our premium channel right there. Also, be sure to follow us on social media so you don't miss any breaking updates on the stories that matter to you most. We're on TikTok, X, Instagram, Facebook. Just search Hidden Killers Podcast with Tony Brueski, and you'll find us right there. Again, thanks for watching.